coming down. I never liked it on the ground. I'm not coming down. I wanna go higher, higher, higher than this.
Hello, this is Rebecca Fleetwood Hession, host of the Badass Women's Council podcast, and I'm glad you're here. Today we have Katie Hargett, and Katie is the founder of Fuel the Female, which is a nonprofit organization where she introduces young girls into the industry of motorsports, because Katie has been in the motorsports industry since she was 9 years old. From racing quarter midgets with her dad, which she'll tell about that fun story, to being a pit reporter at Fox, NBC. She has been in the racing industry her entire life. And now she's able to take all of that experience and really show girls that there's far more to this industry than they've ever realized. And there are two things I want to call out about this episode that I think are really, really important. One is that Katie is discovering that life really is what we talk about a lot here in Reflection and Connection at the Badass Women's Council. Life is a breadcrumb trail of discovery. There's lots of various experiences that we pick up along the way that start to add together to create careers that we may have never even considered for ourselves. And sometimes making that shift from what we thought we were going to do into that next stage can have some challenges and some pain associated with it. And the more that we embrace this idea that there will be lots of experiences along the way, the easier it gets to be curious about what's next. So the second thing I want you to pay attention to in this episode is the theme around connection, because Katie is realizing that while she was amazing as a reporter and is great in front of a camera and with a microphone, the connection that she feels when she sees the look on those girls' faces when she brings them into the Indianapolis 500 and sees all that's available to them is lighting her up in ways that she hadn't anticipated. So I think you're going to enjoy this one. Here we go. Hey, Katie, how's it going?
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
You bet. I'm excited to have you. So this is not your first day in front of a microphone.
No, maybe once or twice.
Yeah, you've got a little bit of that I've been a news reporter vibe. So
I know. My family says my voice changes when I'm in front of a microphone versus when they talk to me. I have like this business voice,
Ooh,
I guess.
you like the game face.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love that.
The race face.
The
that rhymes.
Race face, which is a great segue for you to introduce who you are and what you're about.
So I'm Katie Hargett, as Rebecca said. I am an IndyCar reporter, but also a founder of I'm biased, but a great nonprofit called Fuel the Female, which is a nonprofit, and we empower girls to achieve their dreams in STEM through motorsports.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And you have been in motorsports for 20 years.
Yeah, which is really weird to say.
Since you're like 22 and a half.
Yeah, exactly. 21st birthday on repeat. I started racing when I was 9 years old, and I hated it at first. My sister and I were dancers, and my mom was our dance teacher, and my dad would take us to racetracks, and we would just tap dance in the back of his truck. That was how
Put
much
out a bucket for tips and be like,
exactly. Hey, we should have done that. Maybe that would have paid for.
See, I've always been an entrepreneurial spirit. That's where I go.
Man, I should have met you 20 years ago. And my dad put us in a race car. My sister took to it immediately. I put my head down on my first lap and cried and said, it goes too fast. I don't want to do this. And he taught me a really valuable lesson that day that I still use. He was like, just give it one more shot. Try it again. Oh. And I tried it again, and I loved it, because then I started eventually winning races and got involved with Lynn St. James, who, if that name sounds familiar to listeners, she is the only female rookie of the year, and she has a Women in Racing driver program as well. My sister turned out to hate it. And she kept dancing and I kept racing. So
what a great lesson already.
Yeah.
Just try it one more time.
Yeah. And I did. And it was like the tears turned into this great big smile. And I was like, oh my God, this that's what adrenaline feels like. Yeah. And I've been an adrenaline junkie ever since.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And I want to dive deeper into that. Just try it one more time, because I think we as females oftentimes don't give ourselves permission to do that.
Yeah, I've gone through this really strange period lately too, where my contract wasn't renewed with NBC Sports. I've been a pit reporter for them for 4 seasons. At the end of last season, my contract wasn't renewed with them. And I was left in this like really weird, who am I? Mm-hmm. So I went on this like, just try it again sort of period. Yeah. And now I'm back reporting. I'm not where I would like to be, but I'm traveling with the series and I'm stepping out and trying different things and just trying life again in terms of like accepting that your job isn't really who you are. And Fuel the Female has really given me that base and that re-inspiration to continue trying and seeing all these little girls who's, well, they're not little, they're high schoolers, but these high school girls whose eyes are opening wide, like big as saucers when they meet, Lynn St. James or Kara Adams, who's a chief engineer, introducing all these girls to just amazing, powerful women who have tried and tried again.
And inspiring them to realize there's a lot of options in this industry that they've never seen before.
We invited so the first year we did it was May of 2018. We did it again in May of 2019. 100 high school girls, the first time all IPS students, the second time half IPS, half expanding to other school districts. Both times I asked girls to raise their hand and see how many of them had ever even been out to the Speedway. And I was like, I could count it on my hands, which blew my mind.
Right.
You live in this great city. I love Indianapolis, with this incredible resource of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the NTT IndyCar series with so many job opportunities, and you've never been here.
Yeah.
So that was really cool to not only to introduce them to Indianapolis Motor Speedway and IndyCar, which is my heart and my everything really, and to introduce them to women who have forged their own path. Mm-hmm. Because, I have this like powerhouse of women. There is a powerhouse of women in IndyCar. We've got Kara Adams. She's a chief engineer at Firestone. She just won, and I'm going to blank on the name of the award, but she's the first woman to win an engineering award.
We'll throw it in the show notes when we look it up later. No worries.
Yes, perfect. Jessica Mace, who's the only female mechanic in the NTT IndyCar Series paddock right now. Kate Gunlack, who is Scott Dixon's fuel engineer. And if you're a race fan and you're listening, Scott Dixon is like a master with fuel saving and stuff. And I think that comes with Kate and how she helps him on track. And he's a 5-time champion.
And he's got more than one female in his team, right?
Yeah, there is, in my opinion, by no mistake, is Scott Dixon a 5-time champion with 2 female engineers on his team, fighting for him in the pits while he's out fighting on track.
And there's a lot of business articles that show that when you invest in women, the return on that investment to the bottom line of your business is exponential. So he's proven it out there too.
Yeah. And I think the more diverse a company can be, the better, because you get this wide range of ideas, this wide range of knowledge. Because if you just pigeonhole yourself into, a friend of mine and I like to joke, old white men, you're going to get one opinion.
Yeah.
And that opinion is antiquated, and they only see the world from a man's point of view.
And they're reinforcing each other's perspective instead of bringing new perspective into the mix.
They've never had to fight for anything. So if you bring in an African-American man or an African-American woman or a woman, anybody of a different ethnicity that has a different background than you, it doesn't matter how you vary your knowledge or your perspective, but it has to be varied, mm-hmm. or you're just in this echo chamber of lack of knowledge.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A couple of things that you've said already, they're just rich to me, is one, you're in this space where you're trying new things for your career. You're building on the skills you've already acquired and things that you love. But we have this feeling that we're supposed to have life figured out in our 20s.
Oh my God.
And it's crap.
I'm 28, almost 29 here in like the next month. And I'm that person that at 18, I was planning out my life. I was going to be married by 23, have my first kid by 25. I was going to get the pit reporting job by the time I was 28. So I got the pit reporting job when I was 24. And that totally shifted everything for me. Okay, fine. I'm 24. I've got my pit reporting job. I'm single. I'll be married by 30. I'll be having my first kid by the time I'm 31. I'm a planner.
I'm exhausted by that already.
OCD planner, right? And this past year has been a lesson in change and how to adapt and how to keep trying, because my dream got ripped away from me. And I'm not placing the blame on anyone else. I will take ownership of it, but it was ripped away. And you have to figure out who you are again and how to keep evolving and adapting. And okay, well, actually, maybe that wasn't my dream. And why does that job not align with who I am? Yeah. So what that job doesn't provide is stability, and there's encouragement in some ways, but like a team atmosphere and really nurturing relationships. Okay, so how do I change what I value to match what I do for a living?
And we've talked about that before you came on the show, is that it was this weird feeling where you got so much energy when you were working with Fuel the Female, because you were gathering people and relationships and inspiring these girls. And when you were in front of the microphone, it didn't feel authentically like you. Although you have all the gifts and talents and you're doing it well, it didn't really feel like who you were.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I love reporting because I love telling people's stories and I love talking to people, but it felt like there's something more. Like I've always loved to give back. Like even when I was in school, we always did the soup kitchen at church on Sundays, or, I volunteered with Girls Inc., which is another really great organization for women. And I loved it. I always felt there feeling like the most alive. And when I did these two events for Fuel the Female, at the end of the day, I was damn exhausted, but I was so excited because I was watching these girls' eyes, like I said earlier, wide like saucers. And I was energized inside to go do more for them. And it felt like, okay, if I get this feeling from Fuel the Female, it tells me maybe TV isn't the right path. I love TV, and it's a great path for some people, but it can start opening doors in other ways. And I think it's just part of my journey where stop planning, Katie. The universe tells you things for a reason. And, a friend of yours too, Erica Ballard, has told me many times, listen to the universe when it tries to tell you something.
Yeah. And you needed that experience that you've had as a reporter. You need that street cred to run Fuel the Female, because that is going to open doors for you, right? So that's not wasted experience. That's valuable. I call it the breadcrumb trail of life, right?
Yes.
That was a breadcrumb that you needed, and it's taken you to this next step and this next step. And what I want girls in their teens and early 20s and to recognize is, let that breadcrumb trail play out.
Yes.
Enjoy the space that you're in. Don't get freaked out. I am 53 years old, and I am just now realizing that all of these other experiences that I had in my life, from bartending back in the day to, a rich career at Franklin, all of those are breadcrumbs that are leading me to this place where I'm loving my life. But if you would have asked me at 25, hey, what are you going to be doing at 53? I would have not said, well, I think I'll have a podcast and I'll start a company and it'll be focused on high achieving women. Like, I didn't know to dream about this stuff.
Oh, I was trying to make that breadcrumb my bread loaf at that time. Like I was, you know what? Dang it. I told myself at 18, this is what I was going to do. And I had the world figured out. And this past year, I don't have the world figured out by any stretch of the means. And I'm just really I still have those total anxiety attacks though, you know, where you're like, oh God, what am I doing? And how am I going to make money? And, you know, all these things, you know, because life is about having to pay bills and doing certain things. And the other thing that I really have struggled with too, which, you know, coaching has really helped me, is letting go of other people's expectations of what you are supposed to do with your life. Society holds high. So I've got these two things that I really love. I love a broadcasting career and I love Fuel the Female. Society holds a broadcasting career and being quote unquote famous higher than helping other people.
Yikes.
So what is wrong with, or that's my view of
your
what
view.
society, right? So that's my view of how society holds people. And so you feel this pressure inside, like this elephant on your shoulders to pursue that broadcasting career and be that quote unquote famous person. Whereas inside I'm battling because I myself am putting the pressure on myself to help other people. So there's this like tug of war going on inside.
Well, you described this perfectly. I say that we as high achievers, we want to work hard.
Yes.
But there's a difference between falling in bed at night exhausted from striving, which striving means, the root of the word means battle and conflict, where you're exhausted, but you've battled it out, versus falling in bed at night exhausted from thriving, which is where you know you were doing the right things. You know you were connecting. And you're starting to experience that in the way it feels when you do those different things. So it's not about what other people think. It's how do I feel when I get in bed at the end of the day? What have I done to contribute?
Oh, yeah. And I can tell you, for those of you that are in this battle yourself, that it is a completely different type of life. You feel so alive, and to feel that confidence and security inside yourself. And I get waves of it. You know, this past year, I have come from probably being at my lowest of lows to feeling like those waves of confidence. And you're like, oh my God, that's what life feels like.
Yeah.
So for anyone that's in that battle right now, keep trying, because those waves are like, oh my God, this is awesome. You're like, where did this come from? But I'm digging it. And then you're going to feel like, oh my God, what am I doing? And you feel that sadness again. But it's, the waves become stronger and stronger, and eventually they'll stay. I'm a believer in that.
Well, and your destiny and purpose and calling and mission and all of those things come largely from the dips, the times that it's hard, the times that it hurts, because it's in that space that you start listening. Because when things are going like gangbusters, everything's super cool, you're not paying attention to stuff. But when things are hurting, all of a sudden you're like, oh, this sucks. I got to start figuring this out. I got to pay attention. You went and found a coach. You started being more reflective. And that's where you start to discover, how does this feel? How does my life feel?
Well, and to be honest, I had never really battled a hard time per se, and those are my air quotes if you can't hear them, in my life. Like, we weren't rich by any means. Like, I had a job all through high school. If I ever wanted anything, my parents were like, go get a job. But I've never been homeless, and I've never not known how to pay a bill. You know, my parents, I have great parents and a great support system in my friends. So I'd never gone through a battle until this year. And I feel like maybe if I'd gone through a battle before, I would have been a little more prepared. But I had to battle this in order to find out what I'm really supposed to do with my life, because I can't imagine, I mean, and you know this very well, I can't imagine being 50 and changing this. My coach says, you're going through a quarter life crisis or a midlife crisis just a little early. This is good. This is good.
It is good. And you know what? You'll probably have a couple more of these, FYI.
And you know what? Then that's fine, because, well, it's not fine.
Well, you'll be more prepared.
Exactly.
Yes.
I know that the waves are coming, and I know how to deal with them better, because I'm telling you, if you haven't been through this change, it's coming at some point. But you just reach out to people, you reach out to your support system and figure out how to deal with it, because it can turn out really refreshing.
Absolutely. And that's where you're starting to discover what you're really supposed to be doing in this season. And so you'll have another season later on that Fuel the Female will create for you, right? So you can start to see it not as I got to bake the bread, the whole loaf right now, but I've got to just discover what this season has for me and what I can learn from it.
And what I am learning is that different seasons are fun. You know, I like fall because I like the sweaters and the boots. I like winter because I like to ski, and I never thought I would say that until I went skiing a few years ago. But I like to ski. I like spring because it's like new life. I like summer because of all the great memories it tends to bring. Right. So I'm trying to remind myself that the seasons of the year represent the seasons of life, and you can love each of them and hate each of them for a different reason.
And a new one's coming. A new season is coming.
Yeah.
Always.
Yes.
Absolutely. So a couple things I want to just come back to, because these are messages that I really think are important. Again, you don't even want to have your life figured out in your 20s, because you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it. And
totally.
And if you choose career and choose things based on other people's expectations, you're living somebody else's life, not your own.
Well said.
And one of the things I think is the biggest gift that my parents gave me is they didn't give me expectations of what I should and could do. Yeah. I never had this pressure of, well, I think you should go into this career, Rebecca. I think you should do this. And for a while, I almost felt like other people's parents were guiding them more, and I was just trying to figure stuff out and wandering around aimlessly. It was the best gift they could have ever given me, because now it's my life, and they've watched me discover it for myself, and they've let me make tons of mistakes and been there to support me, but didn't bail me out of things. They just was like, okay, you're going to figure this out. And I think that's the best thing we can do, is let people just discover this breadcrumb trail on their own.
Yeah. And my parents never put that pressure on me. Just somewhere along the line, and I can't really figure it out, I just became this planner. And I think it's because I like control, and I used to call myself a control freak until I had a great lunch one day with Allison Millington, who is the Senior Vice President of Events for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Oh, wow. She is the only female CEO of a Super Bowl. She helped bring the Super Bowl to Indianapolis. I mean, she is a powerhouse. Woo. And I said
we need to have her on the podcast.
Oh my gosh, she's amazing. The things she says, I'm like, that's the gospel.
The gospel of badass women.
Yes, exactly. And I had lunch with her when, going through this past year, and I said, I'm a control freak, and I like control, and being in television, you don't really have that much control. And she goes, no. You're a control enthusiast. And I'm like, ooh. Okay, yeah, I'm a control enthusiast.
It doesn't sound nearly as...
It's a positive connotation as opposed to a negative one. And it's okay to like control. Control freak makes it sound like it's not okay.
And I shifted it to a positive as well. And it's a little different, but I say I like connection more than control. Because I only have control over me, my thoughts, my emotions. And if I take those things that I can control about myself and use those to connect with others, to connect with my career, then it feels like I am controlling something, which is me and my emotions, my thoughts, my actions. But I'm not expecting that I can control others.
Yeah.
Because that's where the pain comes, where you're like, if they just would have done this, if they would have, if they this, they that. And I'm like, I got no control over they.
Right.
I only got me.
Yeah, that's a great point. And because I think that's also in this season of change, what people will struggle with is that controlling, inability to control others.
Yeah.
And you have to remind yourself, like you said, I can only control me, my thoughts, my actions.
We had a guest, Joan Rosenberg, who wrote a book, 90 Seconds to the Life You Love. And we talked about fear. And the way she framed it is that most of the time it's not actual fear. It's not that there's danger that's imminent right now. It's that we have this, we don't like uncertainty and the unknown.
Oh my God. Is this the podcast I told you about?
Oh yeah, that's the one you listened to. I forgot.
Let me get my phone.
Oh my gosh. You took notes on that one, didn't you?
You're darn right I did. So
Oh my gosh, she literally just grabbed her phone out of her bag. Here we go.
I met Rebecca a few weeks ago, and I told her, when she first DM'd me, I was like,
forgot about this.
You know what? I've got a little extra time. I've got my usual suspects in terms of podcasts, and I've got a little extra time getting ready. I'll pick one. And I just so happened to pick this podcast that Rebecca's talking about.
I would say that God in the universe picked that podcast for you,
right?
But I'm not going to go there just yet.
Exactly.
Keep going.
And I literally dropped my curling iron. I'm like, whoa. Okay. All right. So in this podcast, Joan Rosenberg says your harsh criticisms of yourself is because you don't want to be vulnerable. And I'm reading this directly off my phone because I read these so often when I'm having those down waves. And you're trying to distract yourself from this unpleasant feeling. So your body is like hijacking those unpleasant feelings, and you change your questions of, can I do this? Will I do this? What am I doing? And you change them into statements. I can, I am, I will, I do. And that has turned into my mantra. I can, I am, I will, I do. How powerful is that?
Yeah. And
Because
for the control enthusiast in you, you now have something that you can own. Me too.
Because that has been me for the past year. Can I do this? What am I doing? I can, I am, I will, I do. It's so powerful. It's like so simple. How can something so simple be so powerful?
Well, that's the thing. We overcomplicate things.
Yes.
Always.
Oh, God. Queen of that. Hello. Gosh.
It's on my resume.
Yes. Bullet point number 1. Complicated.
And so often when we see little quotes and little quips like that, we read them and we think, is it really that simple? But sometimes it really is that simple.
This ring I have on, I bought when I was having a bad day my freshman year in college. I've never taken it off. It's from Target.
Target.
Exactly. It is $10. It says nothing is impossible.
And it reminds you.
Never taken it off. I also wear this little bracelet that says never taken it off. Also from some boutique in California.
Yeah.
Don't really remember. Live what you love. I'm like a sucker for that stuff.
Absolutely.
The shirt I have on, girl power.
Girl power. I know as soon as you walked in, I was like, preach, girl.
Yep. I'm a total sucker for this type of stuff, but it reminds me when I look down, I wear it on my right hand. I look down when I'm writing something, nothing is impossible.
And our brain believes everything we tell it.
Oh, God, yeah.
And so if you say, I suck, I'm this, I'm that, your brain goes, okay, remind her of all the times that she did something dumb that she sucks. She just said she sucks. Like it floods our memories, right? And what those things do for you is it creates a mantra that when you look down and you read that for yourself, you tell yourself that and your brain goes, oh, look, nothing's impossible. We should keep moving. Like, it's neuroscience. It's not just Instagram pretty. It's neuroscience. It actually is telling your brain, we're okay. We've got this. Keep moving forward.
Well, and when you're going through those seasons of change, you really do have to retrain your brain to think. And that's what's the most difficult thing about change.
And when you're in that stress mode, which our friend Erica Ballard talks about, another episode, you can go back and grab that if you want to hear more about cortisol's impact on your brain. But when you're in that stress mode, you need things like that because your brain is just doing all this, what am I doing? I don't know. And just to center yourself, to look down and read that simple statement on your ring, centers yourself and tells your brain, it's okay.
Oh, yeah.
We can take the next step now. Like those neural pathways are being created for you to think positively about this change.
Yeah, we got this, girlfriend.
Target, $10, neural pathways, boom, right
I don't think they still sell them because that was like 10 years ago, but I highly recommend you at least go look for it.
Find something that speaks to you.
Maybe I should put an ad for it on Instagram.
You should be an influencer for Target now. We're going to be shouting out.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I work with my coaching clients is is as we go and inventory their gifts and talents and abilities and start to dig into their story, I say, what you need to find a couple of mantras for this season. What are those things that you're going to come back to, that even those ones that are quippy that rhyme, those are the things that get stuck in your head. And when they get stuck in your head, that helps create that neural pathway. If it's something that you just constantly roll through in your thoughts, that's a beautiful thing.
Oh God, when I started going to coaching, I would just I cried the whole time. I'm like, oh, what am I doing with my life? And she's like, one day you're going to come here and you're not going to cry. And I'm like, when?
Shout out to your coach, because she's a friend of the show too.
Oh yeah, Teresa Sabatine. She's amazing.
She's great.
And I met her through Terry Lingner, who is the producer for NBC IndyCar, who is a great mentor of mine. And he's like, you've got to meet Teresa Sabatine. Met Teresa, therefore I met Erica. I saw you on Erica's Instagram page. That's how the universe has been speaking to me for a long time.
And that plays into our other aspect of what we talk about at the Badass Women's Council. It's reflection and connection. So you've done a lot of reflection. Yeah. You are sitting in this place in your story and saying, what does this mean for my next stage? But you're not doing it completely alone.
Oh God, I couldn't.
You can't.
I tried. You know what? I tried for a really long time.
How's that working? How was that working for you?
Dude, last winter, when it was so symbolic that everything was dead, because that's how that's how I felt inside.
And some things do have to die and fall away.
Yeah. Oh my
Nothing
God.
wrong with that.
Teresa has said the same thing. She said, the reason you're crying is you are grieving the death of the person you thought you were.
Ooh, that's good.
And I'm like, ooh, okay. Okay, well, I'm going to try a little bit more. And you know what? So then I kept going, and then I would cry a little less. Mm-hmm. And then I would cry a little less the next time. Mm-hmm. And that person, I started to accept that it was okay that person is dying, because there's something else out there.
Because something in the spring needs to be born.
Exactly.
And grow and thrive. And this is neuroscience again. So your brain every day wakes up and says, we need to make sure she survives and thrives.
Yeah.
And in some aspects of that, thriving is the reflection of, who am I? What are my gifts and talents? Getting control of that little bitch that lives in our head that tells us we're not enough. That's a reflection characteristic that we've got to go through. But you can't stop there. Then it goes connection. So the only way that we can really know who we are is when we connect with others and they can tell us back how our gifts and talents help them. And so I would suggest that the reason that Fuel the Female is so now in tune with how you feel and what you get excited about is because now you're using your gifts to connect with others in a way that you find such value in that. Whereas when you're reporting, you know you're telling a great story, but you didn't get to feel the experience that somebody else had when they heard that story.
Yeah.
You didn't have that personal experience with it. Now you are looking in the eyes of these young girls and you're saying to them, there's a whole world outside of what you knew yesterday, and let me introduce you to it.
That's such a great point. I never thought of it that way, because like you said, Fuel the Female does bring in being able to tell people's stories. And that's what I loved about television, is talking to people and connecting with people. And now I just get to do it in real life.
With real people that you have a relationship with, right?
So powerful.
Absolutely. And that's another message that I love about Fuel the Female is too often, as I said, we're asked to pick careers and asked to pick our life plan too early. And when we do that, we can only pick it based on what we know. And we only know a handful of careers from our friends and our parents and our aunts and our uncles. And when you open up their world to a place that they have never even been, literally,
right?
The Indianapolis 500, they're like, there's a whole world down the street from my house that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah, I if you would have asked me at 18, like, what does a nonprofit executive director do? I'd be like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
So I never would have, I thought that to be like a volunteer position and something you did for fun on the side. Yeah. But like it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. And you're out there with a machete in the jungle paving the way for people. This is not a path that's already been created that you walk down. You are creating a path for these girls.
Oh yeah. I didn't come into something that was already established. This was this is grassroots effort.
Yes.
This is the race fan donating $20 so that we can buy materials for the girls to build these mousetrap race cars that they built last May, which was really cool.
Tell us a little bit more about the Fuel the Female programs and how it's funded, what you need, what's your vision for it. Let's just talk more about that.
Yeah, so there's lots of goals, but just to kind of summarize what we've already done. So in May of 2018, we had those 100 IPS high school girls to the Speedway, and they went on a tour of the Speedway in terms of they toured the different careers that they could hold that women currently hold. So they met Kara Adams, the chief engineer. They met Danica Patrick, who swung by the suite at lunch, which was really cool. They met Lisa Boggs, who is the director of business at Firestone, and Jessica Mace, the mechanic, and Kate Guerra, who at the time was the senior manager of national media for the series. So all these really powerful women.
And they would recognize, of course, Danica, they recognize Firestone. Even if they don't know that name,
Right.
They all of a sudden realize this is big.
You can buy a Firestone tire, right? But Firestone also happens to provide racing tires. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of careers there as well. And so that was great. That year one, awesome. They met all these great women, but how do we make this hands-on? So I brought in IUPUI and a woman by the name of Terry Talbert Hatch at IUPUI. She was the director of recruiting at the time, the dean of recruiting for IUPUI School of Motorsports. And she brought on her female engineering students. Oh. And they said, oh, you know what? We can actually create these mousetrap cars. So the base of a car is the mousetrap. And then you use all these recycled parts. So like for a few months, my living room was full of toilet paper rolls and bottle caps and rubber bands, all kinds
You're
all
a little
kinds of
recycling
crazy
center.
things. Yeah. And my boyfriend was like, are we ever going to like have a dining room again? I was like,
not today.
After May 14th. So on the day, the female IUPUI engineering students mentored each group of high school girls to build these race cars out of the mousetrap.
Connection.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, you could never have asked me to do that because that is not one of the gifts I was given.
Same.
And so it was just really cool for me to observe, these, because then they saw the career path, right? They saw the girl in college. They saw the woman who now holds the job. That way they can envision their path or what could be their path. And so that's what was really cool to me. And so were there lessons that I learned that day that, how we can tweak it for next year? Absolutely. It's not perfect yet. It's not a perfect system, but I feel like we're on the right path of creating some really impactful experiences for these girls.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. What do you need from people? So you have people that are investing into this. What do you need? So shout out, you've got people listening today. What would be helpful?
So what was really cool this past year is Honda Performance Development really believed in what we were doing, and they sponsored the event this past May, which was awesome to feel like, some relationships that I had created through broadcasting had come with me to Fuel the Female side. And they believe in female engineers. They have a few, which was really cool. So they sponsored that and covered the cost of the event that day. But where people can continue helping is, again, donating money because we need resources for these girls. We would like to do this at more tracks. The goal is to expand this to about 3 more markets in the next few years so that we can reach more girls. And that's going to come with partners. And if you feel like you're a company that encourages females to succeed in your workplace, how can we partner to encourage your females to reach out to that younger generation? So yeah, really partnerships and community is where we can.
How can they get more information about you?
Super easy to get hold of us. Fuel the Female on every social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Fuel the Female or fuelthefemale.org. There is a connection page there where all those emails will go directly to me, and I will respond to you as soon as I can.
Excellent. So do you have plans for another program in May here in Indianapolis?
Yes, we would love to have that same program again in Indianapolis next May. It has just so happened to be on the opening day of Indy 500 practice both years, but would love to. There's no firm plans, so I can't say 100% yes, but in my mind, it's 100%.
We got to put it out there. It is 100%.
Yes. Okay, put it out in the universe. It's happening.
And if you haven't been to the Indianapolis 500 Speedway, it is an experience you never forget.
Oh my God, you have to go. I mean, seeing these superheroes, as I like to describe them, climb in the car and go 220 plus miles an hour for 500 miles, literally putting their lives on the line, is just an experience like none other. And then you see not only them, but the 5 guys and girls that go over the wall to change their tires as other cars are speeding past them. And if cerebral stuff is more your style, well, think about the strategists that are on the stands deciding, okay, when is the best time for us to pit for fuel and take tires? So there's always that math and science part, as well as just the pure bravery. So there's something for everybody.
And that's such an important message, because if you've grown up around Indianapolis, a lot of the marketing that goes out about the Speedway is it's snake pit, it's a big party. And
yeah, so partying's your style too?
That's all happening too. Like I've participated in that aspect of the track. No shame, no shade. But it is all of those things that you just talked about. I had the unique opportunity as a high school student. It just so happened the guy I was dating, his family had somebody that was in racing, and I got to sit in a car on pit row on one of the practice days and just be in that vibe that you're talking about. And it is so inspiring when you see those teams working together. You see the camaraderie, you see the relationships, you see their passion. Like you can't, I mean, I was 17 years old and I still walked away feeling that sense of just passionate pursuit.
Yeah.
It's addicting.
I mean, the first time I showed up at the Indianapolis 500, I was like, all right, never leaving. Like
it gets in your blood, doesn't it?
I mean, literally it's a drug, and it's a healthy drug. So I'll stay hooked on that.
I was going to say, I'm not going to make the correlation between there might be drugs there too, because there
are no drugs there. I mean that I choose that as my drug.
Oh, I take a really good point and I have to just make it messy. Sorry about that. No. But it's an amazing experience. You have to go at least once. Just the people watching in general is just fabulous.
Well, here's the theme. Give it a try. I feel like we keep saying that over and over. Just give it a shot. It's really cool. If partying's your thing, you can get it there. If cerebral is your thing, you can get it there. Adrenaline, you get it there. It's something literally for anyone.
Just the start of the race with the pomp and circumstance of that whole thing. I have chills thinking about it right now. Yeah.
So cool. So also part of my job is being on the public address system for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And people ask me what the highlight of my broadcasting career is. I, on race day, do interviews from Victory Podium and from around the track. And I have this really great picture too, that one of the photographers took, but I was standing on Victory Podium getting ready to do one of my interviews, and I looked out and I was like, oh my God. Because it's not like TV where you can't see who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Your voice at IMS is booming out over 400,000 plus people, and you are looking at them. But it was so cool. As part of the 100th running of the Indianapolis 500. So cool. Which, by chance, too, I was also a 500 Festival Princess on the 100th anniversary of the first running. So it's two different things because they took a break during the World Wars.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So like 2011 was the 100th anniversary.
That's right.
Whereas 2016 was the 100th running. So anyway, it was just so cool.
This has been in your blood, you said since you were 9.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it was just so cool to be part of that and hear your voice, because it echoes. You know, you talk and then you hear yourself a few seconds later.
Yeah.
So it was just so cool to experience that. And my family was there. They were up high in turn 3. So it was really great experience.
I am so excited about you and your future. I know you're in that place where you're thinking, oh my gosh, what's happening? But when I hear the passion that you have for this sport and how you're going to take that passion and show all these young girls what's possible, I get super excited about it.
Today is a high wave.
Yeah.
Today is
well, you know what? Let's end the whole episode on a high wave. So there you go. Thank you for being here. And again, please go out and follow along with Fuel the Female, and let's support this badass.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet.
And I'm not coming down.
Let's rally round and support Katie in this adventure for Fuel the Female. I hope you'll go check out the website, and anything that you can do to be a support, I think you should do it. The next thing I think you should do is subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done so already. And if you have, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're welcome to leave a review, and as always, share with your other badass friends. Okay, reflection question of the week. Do you need to give yourself permission to discover more about your gifts and talents and what could be next in your career? Is there something coming up that you might want to explore, that you might need to let go of the idea that what you're doing right now, is the thing? I don't know. Maybe not. Just something to think about. That's what we're here for, reflection and connection. As always, thanks so much for being here. And if you need some coaching or a keynote speaker, someone to facilitate something for your team, I'm your girl. Make it a great day.